Hey, y'all. I'm Marshall Wilson. Welcome to Live at 5. It is a real pleasure to be here with you. I realize we've got another 2 minutes before it's time to be live, but I rushed home from knocking doors in the 90 plus degree heat to gather enough signatures to make sure that my name will be printed on the ballot for governor. I'm almost certain we're going to have more than enough, but what we really need to do is kind of overwhelm the system with so many that my opponent, who we all know will challenge and squirm and weasel and do whatever it takes to make sure, engage in lawfare and do all that silly stuff to make sure that he doesn't have opponent uh, who actually believes in and supports the things that he claims that he does. So anyway, we have to super we have to get far more than we need, just to make sure that he can't challenge enough of them credibly enough that he can actually delay us from getting on the ballot and play all these silly games with us, um, as we all know he tends to do. So anyway, yeah, we got 1 more minute. I was out, like I said, in the super 90-degree heat, 90 degrees plus, with my lovely wife Julie, the captain, and it came time for me to come home, rush home, and get ready for this, which is why I'm, you know, I'm still trying to recover from being really uh, uh, hot and sweaty just a couple of minutes ago. But Julie insisted on staying out there, about over 20 miles from the house. She said, "You come pick me up when you're done. I'm going to get some more signatures." So that's the kind of lady she is, and I would be in a lot of trouble without her. So, I want to thank y'all for coming, and for those who will watch this later, I want to thank you for that. Really grateful for the fact that anybody cares about what I think. But I do spend a lot of time reading and thinking and studying these issues that we discuss, and I also discuss them with people who I consider to be um, more well informed, but also who who have a better handle on these issues than I do. So I'm always grateful for my friends who know more than I do, who are willing to share it with me, and I'm trying to, wow. Uh, anyway, who are willing to share it with me and to help me out and to help me bring these issues to you, uh, because I know that a lot of you appreciate this. So this evening, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to cut it short because Julie is out there, and also I've got to get my daughter to lacrosse practice. So anyway, we're going to cut this fairly short. Probably wrap it up around 5:30, depending on how many questions or comments you have. But you'll note that I posted here this initial quote from "The American Crisis" by Thomas Paine, and I think the words will probably sound familiar to you. Most of us who pay any attention to the founding of the United States have heard these words once or twice, and I want to draw your attention to one particular term, or maybe it's two terms from this passage. But let me read it to you real quick. These are the times that try men's souls. God, you gotta love that. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will in this crisis shrink from the service of his country. But he that stands it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, because, they're related. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. It sounds a lot like what the words that William Shakespeare put into the mouth of Henry the Fifth at Agincourt. Of course, we know it's a play. Henry the Fifth may or may not have said something along these lines. But anyway, he says, "He who here sheds his blood with me, be he never so vile, shall be my brother. And those who are still in bed back home will rue the day that you stood here with me at Agincourt and that they stayed in bed." So, um, you know what, guys? Let's do it. Let's get together. Let's stand up. Let's uh let's bear let's bear the burden. Let's do our duty. Let's stand up. We can win this thing. We can absolutely win this thing. We have everything that the founding fathers had. We have a minority of the people on our side. No, actually, I believe we have a majority of the people on our side. We have the established structure fighting against us in every corrupt, just perverse way that they can. They are claiming righteous authority, whereas they have misused their authority in so many compromised manners that it's not even funny. If you go back and read the Declaration of Independence and you read the complaint that the founding fathers had against the King of England, you will see that there are direct parallels between what the King of England did to the American colonies and what your government, your state government here in West Virginia, which by the by, every single one of your constitutional officers and a super majority of your legislators are all Republicans. So there's no pointing fingers at anyone here. It's Republicans. They own the House, they own the Senate, they own the governor's mansion. Your Secretary of State, your Attorney General, your um, Agriculture Commissioner, your Auditor, your Treasurer, they are all hardcore Republicans. So go back, read the Declaration of Independence, and see what your Republican supermajority is doing to you, and see if maybe there are some parallels to the Declaration of Independence. And if you will forgive me, I would like to posit that these are the times that try men's souls. Your soul's being tried right now. I know mine is. So, are you going to be a summer soldier and a sunshine patriot? What does that mean, a summer soldier? Well, things can get really tough in the winter. Now, I understand, with the kind of heat we're dealing with right now, everybody's thinking, well, a summer soldier, that's pretty rough too. Well, I have been both a summer and a winter soldier, as well as a fall and a spring soldier, as well as a desert, as well as a mountain, as well as a swamp, as well as anything, woodlands, whatever you can think of. I've been a soldier in all those terrains. And what I will tell you is that there's just something about being cold all the time that takes the life out of you. Being hot all the time will wear you out. But you can you can drink a lot of water, you can deal with it. You can find some shade every now and then. But when it's cold and you just live outside in a hole in the ground, I'm an infantryman. I've lived in a hole in the ground in the wintertime for months at a time. It wears you out. So anyway, the thing is, we're not talking here about people who are engaged in necessarily. Keep in mind, the issue here is the summer soldier. So in other words, he's willing to bear a little bit of hardship as long as it's just not too much. You get what I'm saying? And the Sunshine Patriot. Well, boy, he will wave the heck out of that flag. Whoo! He wears that uniform. He yells MAGA. He says, I am all for America, right? And then you find out he just gave $290 million of your money taken from your pocket at gunpoint by your government, by your Republican supermajority, and given to Bill Gates and the Chinese Communist Party. But boy, he's going to wave that flag, isn't he? He's all on your side. He's for you, man. He wants to know what's going on back home. How y'all doing back there in your holler? That's how they talk about you, by the way. I hope you know that. I was a delegate for 2 terms. I sat in the legislature and listened to your elected representatives talk about you that way. All right. So these are summer soldiers and sunshine patriots who get up and swear to you that they will fight for you for what's important for you. These clowns don't have any idea how to fight. They've never been in a fight in their lives. Yeah, well, I can't stand it either, Ruth. That's why I'm here. They don't know how to fight. And let me tell you something. The thing is that the average human being is capable of fighting if he understands why. And the real issue here is that these summer soldiers, don't understand why. These Sunshine Patriots don't understand what's at stake. All right. They think that what's at stake is their title being recognized in public. Someone saying, "Oh, delegate, it's so wonderful that you took the time to talk to us," being at ribbon cuttings and dedications. They think that's what's at stake. They think that their status as a member of West Virginia society is what's at stake. And what's really at stake is the soul of West Virginia, the lives of your grandchildren, the liberty of your children. That's what's at stake. That's why they're able to play these games, because they have convinced themselves that the words I'm saying right now that have been said by all of the wisest men who have ever lived, they're saying that these words that were written down 250 years ago by the men who actually formed this country for the purpose of securing your natural rights, because this is the highest good for government, to secure the natural rights of the people. These people I'm talking about, these summer soldiers and sunshine patriots, as Thomas Paine called them, these people believe that those principles are a joke. They think you are a joke. They think the idea that your grandchildren will end up in slavery to evil, preposterously evil people is funny. And they think the idea that you need to take back control of your government is a riot. Because who do you think you are? They don't believe you have the capability, the will, the knowledge, the understanding, the principles. They simply don't understand. All right. So it is absolutely critical that at this time, when your soul is being tried, that you be found pure of purpose, focused on the task at hand, wise as a serpent and gentle as a dove. Gentle how? Well, you have to maintain control of yourself. All right. Can't run around acting like a lunatic, burning down somebody's pharmacy because, they happen to be in your way while you're mad about something. I don't believe we behave that way, but if you're ever inclined to, that's not what's called for. Okay. Wise as a serpent and gentle as a dove. So, what do we need to do? What we must do is we must stand our ground. Stop giving in. Stop accepting the lies. Now, I know a lot of you have already stood your ground. I've seen it, and it makes me proud to be among you. I have seen I have seen medical providers, doctors, nurses, respiratory technicians, surgical technicians, various people who work in the medical care industry who have stood up and said, what you are prescribing for these people is actually killing them. I've seen it. I've seen mothers and fathers show up at the Capitol and say, your silly restrictions on my children are destroying the memories that build our community, are destroying the opportunities that my children have to build a life here. I've seen business owners defy orders to close their doors. I have seen my barber, a 70 plus year old farmer and veteran, who was arrested on criminal charges for cutting the hair of people who willingly came to him and asked him to do it. Folks, if you're not seeing the tyranny, God help you. So, first of all, a lot of you are already standing up, and I'd like to encourage you to continue to stand. Continue to stand. But it's not enough to stand and simply hold our ground. We have started to actually push forward. We've made some progress. And now what we need to do is we need to start reestablishing our control over the government that we formed to secure our natural rights, which we then allowed to get out of control, which has turned around and bitten us. This creature, this animal, this monster called the government needs to be beaten into submission, shoved back into its cage, and starved until it can barely do its job. And then it needs to be compelled to do its job against its will, and otherwise to stay in its cage. All right. So the problem is that this government is formed of human beings who have a will. Those human beings need to be trained to understand that they're not going to get what they want. So the two things that generally speaking they want is they want prestige and they want money. Okay? Now, those are both forms of power because what they ultimately want is to control you, your family, your children, your grandchildren, to own them as slaves and ultimately as farm animals. So, deny them the prestige, deny them the money, deny them the control. So, how do you deny them the prestige? When you go on lobby day or whatever day you go to the Capitol to engage with your legislators, or when you run into them in the grocery store, don't treat them like they're somebody special. Don't act like they're famous people. By the way, don't treat famous people like they're famous either. Find people who've actually accomplished some things and listen to their stories and then figure out what really matters. Okay? I spent 20 years in the infantry and I'm not claiming to be one of those people, but I know a bunch of them. People who actually deserve your respect and your honor. Quit treating these clowns as if they are respectable and honorable people. They are fools. They are liars. They are thieves. They are connivers. They work together to rob you of your life, of your liberty, and of your pursuit of happiness, your opportunity to pursue happiness. And then they accuse you of being crazy, of being out of control. Hell yeah, we're out of control. Of being bad people, of not understanding. That's their favorite thing. They say, well, you just don't understand. You know, you're not a delegate. You're not a senator. You've never worked in the government. You're just Bubba who's a mechanic. Let me tell you something. I have worked in the legislature, and every single Bubba the mechanic that I know has a much better grasp on the real world than those clowns who hang out in that marble mausoleum in Charleston. A far better understanding of what the world's really all about. And just for the record, the government is about you. It's about serving you. It's about securing your natural rights. And it is not about making your life better or doing good things for you. The only good thing, the greatest good there is, you talk about the greater good. We're here to serve the greater good. The greater good is very simple. We hold these truths to be self evident that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's just to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. To secure these rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That is the greatest good of which government is capable. So when someone comes up and says, well, we're going to do this for the greater good, no, no, they're doing that for their own good. They want their name on a plaque. They need that prestige. They want someone to recognize them. They want to be at the ribbon cutting and holding those big scissors, right? They want someone to put their name in the newspaper and say, oh, Senator so-and-so made this happen. Isn't he special? No, he's not special. He's a clown. Okay? You know who is special? Guy gets up every day, goes to work, takes care of his family. The lady who takes care of her family. You know? The guy who does the job no matter how hard it is. Those people are special. Those are the ones who actually hold society together and make things happen. The people we send to tell the government what to do, who then refuse to tell the government what we told it to do, and then instead tell us what the government told us it wants us to do, are nothing short. You ready? I'm going to use the word. They're quislings. They're a special kind of traitor. All right. I know in my post the other day, various of my friends said, why didn't you just say traitor? Because a quisling is a special type of traitor. Okay. a special type of traitor. And it was necessary to bring that point out. The people that you think are your buddies who will sit and listen to you and say, "Oh, yeah, I'm on your side, buddy. Why don't you have a cup of coffee and tell me about it?" And then after you leave their office, I've been there and I've seen it. After you leave their office, they laugh about how silly and ignorant you are. And then they turn to their buddies who are all wearing suits and ties and they say, "Man, gosh, if they could just understand." They think you're the ones who don't understand. I know that's false. I know it's the other way around. All right. So the summer soldier and the sunshine patriot are basically synonymous with quislings, because why do they accept positions of honor? What is a position of honor? It's a position of responsibility. They like honor, they like authority, they don't like accountability, they don't like responsibility. But see, the point is, all of those are components of one issue. It's like when I was training young officers in the Army, I would tell them, you only have authority over what you have responsibility for. And anything over which you have authority, you therefore have responsibility for. If you eschew the responsibility, if you forget the responsibility for it, you no longer have authority over it. And you know what? If you go a few steps beyond that, you become a quisling and you actually use the authority and the resources and the capabilities that you're given to execute your responsibility, and you instead do the opposite. Instead of defending people's rights, you destroy their freedoms, their opportunities to freely exercise their rights. You are a quisling. And if you are the sort of person who understands that the elected officials that we are dealing with are less than they should be and should be held accountable and should be removed, and that better men should be put in their places, and yet you support them, you help them because they have power. You support people who are corrupt and compromised and wish you ill because they have power. You kiss their ring, you bow to them because you hope that they will place you in a position where you can exercise authority over other people. You hope that you can be one of those guys up there in that marble mausoleum saying smart things and doing stuff and wearing a tie. You are a quisling. You're a traitor. You're a traitor to your humanity. You're a traitor to your neighbors. You're a traitor to your grandchildren. You are selling them so that you can feel like you're somebody special. I hope you all understand that. Now, what questions or comments do we have here? Anyone? Questions, comments? I see Scott Fairchild is hanging out with us. Scott, I hope you're doing all right, buddy. I'm on your side. I know you had a rough day today. We're praying for you. All right. So, how do you recognize quislings? How do you recognize summer soldiers and sunshine patriots? They will only go out on a limb when other people are already out on a limb. They like to stay in the middle of the pack. They like to be safe. They don't want to be on the margins making decisions. But they always want to look like they're the guy who, the pioneer, the guy who's making stuff happen. Yeah. And then, they will chuckle. They will chuckle anytime someone who doesn't have the status that they have has the temerity to question anything they say. It's a friendly chuckle. It's a friendly chuckle. They don't mean to insult you, because deep down in their heart, they know you can fire them and they don't want you doing that. But what they will do is they'll give you a friendly chuckle and a pat on the back and say, "Well, I understand these matters are really complex." They're not. They're not complex. None of this is complex. When the government says it's going to take 290